Welcome back to Bad Chemistry. Here again is Keith Morrison.
The interview rooms in the Clovis Police Department are like any other, which is to say, a very uncomfortable place to be. When 21-year-old James Fagoni was brought in for questioning, he soon caved under the pressure. And this was the rest of his story.
I was kind of messed up and kind of scared and kind of, worried that I shouldn't do something.
By she, he meant Larissa. He was with her that night, he said. He was frightened, he said. He knew she wanted him to do something. He was going to be her helper, she told him, or so he said. Larissa paid him for it, $2,000. What did they do? Here's what Fagoni told police. On the very night Tim was laid off from his job at the hospital, Larissa directed Fagoni to accompany her to Tim's house. He was to purchase and bring a stun gun. They sneaked up the walk to his front door.
James said that he waited in the shadows near the door while Larissa went up to the front door of the home. She then heard Larissa talking, saying, Tyler's not feeling well. I need you to come to the door. A few moments later, Tim came and opened the front door. And at that point, James lunged from the shadows at Tim, tackled him to the ground, and Larissa jumped on top of him also, there inside the foyer of his home. James was stunning him with the stun gun that Larissa had given him the money to purchase, and Tim was struggling. But after a few moments, Tim stopped struggling.
That wasn't the end of Fagoni's story. There was more to tell. But to believe what he had told them so far, the investigators needed some kind of proof, physical evidence.
I asked him what had happened to the stun gun, and he told me that he had thrown it into a porta potty somewhere on the outskirts of town in the country, and we actually recovered that stun gun inside that porta potty.
Wait a minute. You had to go inside the porta potty?
Yeah, we had to go fishing inside the porta potty to go ahead and recover the stun gun.
Something else happened, too, just as the detectives were interviewing the young man. A woman contacted the Clovis Police Department. Her boss had asked her to do something that now seemed suspicious. She said, her boss, Larissa, who, said the employee, directed her to rent a truck with her own, not Larissa's, credit card. She had already been a little suspicious when Larissa asked her to rent a storage locker the year before, again in her own name, not far from Larissa's biochemical company. Detective Jim Cook drew the assignment to check it out. He drove to the storage facility, walked down a hallway toward Larissa's locker. He'd been told to look for a blue plastic barrel. As he opened the door of the locker, he was hit with something powerful.
And it was very, very strong odor.
Wearing protective gear,
I had on a breathing apparatus and gloves.
there was the barrel. He opened the lid.
And when I opened the barrel, I saw something that was very, very shocking to me, and I recognized immediately as human remains. There was a barrel that's over 3/4 of the way full of fluid and portions of a body protruding from the fluid, and the body was obviously decaying. It was placed in acid, and the acid was basically eating away the body.
Had Larissa sealed her ex-husband's body in a vat of acid? Yes, said Fagoni, telling the rest of his story back at police headquarters. That's what she did. After he obeyed Larissa's directive to shoot Tim with that stun gun, he said, he helped her drag the body to a big blue barrel.
I helped her pop up the barrel, and she put it in, and she poured some solution in there. What kind of solution? It was really caustic. It was fuming, and honestly, she was like, I was messed up. It was too hurting my lungs.
Then, said Fagoni, he helped Larissa transport the body first to her house and then the next day to her chemical lab, where he watched her pour even more acid over Tim's remains. Oh, and something else. Something he could not stop thinking about.
The fact that he was potentially alive and the acid was poured on him.
That's not something that you forget right away.
By the time they heard and checked out Fagoni's story, detectives had also found evidence of Larissa's true feelings for her ex-husband. Tim, it turned out, had saved phone messages from Larissa. Messages filled with loathing. Here's one of them.
And I hope that God you burn in hell one of these days, because you will. And I'll tell you what, this is going to come back to haunt you. wait. It's coming, sweetheart.
Obviously, detectives wanted to talk to Larissa as quickly as possible, but discovered she was gone. Larissa was 2,000 miles away. She'd taken their little boy Tyler on a trip. She was at that moment on her way to visit family in Missouri. No time to waste now.
And we have this arrest warrant in hand. Detectives from Clovis Police Department go to Missouri and meet her getting off the plane, and she's arrested for Tim's murder. And the interesting thing is that when they tell her she's arrested for Tim's murder, at no point does she ask, what happened to Tim? At no point does she ask, how did he die? Well, I believe it's because she already knew, because she was involved in it.
She said nothing.
She said nothing. She didn't really even, according to the detectives that were out there, seem to be terribly surprised.
They brought her back to Clovis then and charged her with first-degree murder. Charged young Fagoni, too, also first-degree murder. Tim's friends thought about the awful story and their former social relationship with Larissa as bossy wife of Tim.
What kind of person was that in my house? In our home that we opened up. Oh, my God.
Gave her your wine.
Mm-hmm. Gave her friendship.
And after the shock of the story had settled over Clovis and nearby Fresno, people began to wonder about that odd duo, Larissa Schuster and James Fagoni. Just what was their relationship? Was young Fagoni in thrall with Larissa? Or was there more than meets the eye? Surely it wasn't a romance, was it?
It was so unlikely. She was twice his age. She was his boss.
Detectives looked into that relationship, too, and concluded it was likely more hero worship than romance. And the implications of that? Well, listen to Larissa's attorney, a man named Roger Nuttall. He says it was Fagoni alone who killed Tim, in some misguided act of loyalty to the powerful Larissa.
He talked with his friends about his dislike for Tim Schuster based upon the way in which Tim Schuster treated Larissa and Tyler as well.
Could it be that Larissa's rants about Tim were just talk, and her young acolyte took it all far more seriously than she would ever have wanted? After all, said Attorney Nuttall, there was no physical evidence at all to say that Larissa was the instigator of the murder. It all rested on Fagoni's word. In fact, said Nuttall, she didn't do it. And maybe a jury would agree.
Coming up, a jury is about to hear scathing phone calls from Tim's wife, Larissa.
You pathetic Well, I tell you what, I am so glad I'm getting divorced from you because I can't stand your guts.
She said things to him that just actually shocked the jurors. You could see it in their faces.
When bad chemistry continues.